Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder if the way someone looks at you changes how you think about what they're thinking? Well, get ready because a fascinating new study dives deep into the connection between gaze, or where someone is looking, and how we understand their inner world. Today we're exploring a really cool question. How does someone's gaze direction, whether they're looking straight at you or away, influence whether we think they're experiencing something or planning something? It turns out there might be a deeper, more intuitive connection than we realize, one that might start even before we can talk. So, the scientists wanted to see if people connect different types of thoughts with different gazes. They thought about two main kinds of mental states. First, there are phenomenal states, which are basically our subjective experiences, like feeling hungry, happy, or sad. They're things you feel inside. Then there are intentional states, which are about our goals, our plans, and our intentions. It is about what we do or want to do. They wondered if our brains automatically link these with how someone is looking at us. The researchers did a few clever experiments. In one, they showed adults and kids a bunch of descriptions. Some were like definitions of feeling something, like this character is capable of feeling hungry. Others were about doing something, like this character is capable of making plans and working towards goals. For each description, they showed two simple drawings of faces. One face looked straight ahead, and the other looked away. The participants had to choose which face best matched the character in the description. And here is where it gets interesting. Adults consistently matched descriptions of feeling phenomenal states with the averted gaze face. But when it came to descriptions about planning or goals, intentional states, adults went for the straight-ahead gaze face. It is like they intuitively felt that if someone is focused on their internal feelings, they might be looking inward or away, but if they have a goal, they're more likely to be looking directly at something or someone. They ran this with both super simple definition, like descriptions, and with more descriptive examples. They even replicated this using real photos of faces, not just drawings, and found similar results. It seems pretty robust in adults. But what about kids? They tested 6 to 8-year-olds, a crucial age for social development. And here is a key difference. While adults clearly separated phenomenal states with averted gaze and intentional states with straight-ahead gaze, the younger children were a bit different. For the example descriptions, the children tended to pick the straight ahead gaze for both feeling and planning. It suggests their intuition might not have differentiated as much yet. However, when they used those super clear direct descriptions, something shifted. For the descriptions about planning, the kids, like the adults, picked the straight-ahead gaze. But for the phenomenal state descriptions, the younger kids were still kind of random, picking at chance. Interestingly, the older kids in this age group, closer to 8, started to do what the adults did, matching the phenomenal feeling descriptions with the averted gaze. This shows a developmental shift happening right in this age range. So why this difference between adults and kids, and what does it mean? The researchers propose that for very young infants, a straight-ahead gaze is a double-duty signal. It can mean, I am paying attention to you. Let's share an experience, phenomenal, or I am looking around to see what I can do. I have a goal. Intentional, essentially. It signals general engagement or accessibility. Averted gaze, on the other hand, doesn't offer much early on for understanding either internal feelings or goals. It might be that as we grow, especially as we learn language, we start associating specific types of inner experiences, like deep thought, sadness, or focusing on a particular memory with looking away. This learning might also be tied to language, because words help us label and understand these complex inner states. Think about it. When someone is lost in thought, reminiscing, or deeply feeling an emotion, they might be looking away from their surroundings into their own mind. The study suggests that adults have learned these associations between certain feelings and averted gazes, perhaps through countless observations and experiences. This is why adults consistently linked phenomenal states to averted gazes, while children, especially younger ones, were still stuck in the straight, ahead gaze for everything phase, or were just starting to pick up on the phenomenal averted gaze link. An important point the researchers make is about the clarity of the descriptions. They found that the more direct definitional descriptions led to stronger and earlier distinctions in gaze associations, even for the kids. This tells us that the language we use to describe mental states matters a lot, especially for developing minds. The examples that were harder to understand, or those that required more nuanced thinking about specific situations, were harder for children to link to the correct gaze. So, the big takeaway is that our understanding of mental states is deeply intertwined with nonverbal cues like gaze, and this connection evolves over time. What starts as a general signal of engagement for infants, straight-ahead gaze gets differentiated in adults to specifically represent intentions, while averted gaze becomes linked to subjective experiences. This learning process seems to require not just observation, but also the development of language to fully grasp and communicate these nuanced internal states. This research is super important because it suggests that our very complex adult social reasoning might be built on these foundational intuitive responses that start incredibly early. It reminds us that how we interpret others' minds isn't purely conscious thought. It's also shaped by these deeper, perhaps even pre-linguistic associations. It's pretty mind-blowing to think that the way you make moral judgments or even define what it means to be a person might be influenced by whether someone is looking at you or away when you are just a baby. This study really highlights how fundamental gaze direction is in shaping our understanding of ourselves and others. One limitation here is that we're often seeing decontextualized faces. In real life, a lot more cues are available, but that's exactly why this kind of experiment is useful, to isolate the effect of gaze itself and see what our basic intuitions are. Future research could explore even deeper into how language and specific contexts change these associations. Overall, this study gives us a fantastic glimpse into the developing relationship between where we look and how we understand what others are thinking and feeling. It's a reminder that even the simplest human interaction, like making eye contact, is packed with psychological meaning. What do you think about these findings? Does this line up with your own intuitions? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this dive into the mind, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to Rubin's Mind Lab for more fascinating science, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.